Without further ado, please welcome Vin.
All right, let's take this out. Mic check. All right, we're good. I feel like that was the scene. If you guys ever seen Anchorman, where they just put like the random stuff on the teleprompter and Noah has to read it. That's what I felt like. So nice to meet everybody. My name is Vin, or Matano, either one. From New Jersey, so this is my first time in Fargo. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know like anyone that's ever visited Fargo from where I'm from, so I think I'm like the pioneer. I was telling some of the people last night that I'm gonna go back and tell them the good news so they can come and visit you guys. I've been at Demandbase for a little over 4 years. So I've seen a lot of like adoption with ABM. The space is changing drastically. It's very competitive. There's always new kind of vendors popping up. And Demandbase, if you don't know, have you heard of Demandbase? They've been around for over a decade, and they really helped like pioneer this whole thought process or idea of account-based marketing. So that's what we'll be talking about. As Noah mentioned, I do create content as well. So that's kind of how I got connected with Noah as well for this event. But like I said, this is my first time here in Fargo. So I texted my mom, and I just let her know. I just texted her I said, hey, I'm going to Fargo, North Dakota tomorrow. Just randomly. Rightfully so. She said, why? And so I told her. So I'm speaking at an event. And if you couldn't tell, I'm Italian from New Jersey, so Italian mother. You know, probably a good response would be, good luck, what are you speaking about? She said, bring me back something. So I'm not here too long, so now I have to figure out what exactly I'm gonna bring back from my mom. So, you know, I popped in some gift stores and stuff like that. Probably she would appreciate if I got her like, I don't know, like Christmas ornament or jewelry. I found this awesome stuffed animal bison, and I'm gonna bring it back for her. So I started to check out with this stuffed animal bison, and I started talking to the cashier, and I started asking her like, do you guys like, you know, what's this about? Do you guys sell these anywhere else? They only sell these in the store. They don't sell them online. So that got me thinking, we're gonna work together, and we're gonna start to sell these online, right? So, work with me here. If we were to start to sell these stuffed animal bison online, what would be the first thing that we would do? I'll call on someone with their hand raised. Don't be shy. I'm open to any ideas how we can sell these online. Go ahead. Take a picture of the product. That's a great idea. Anybody else? Product description. Okay. Anyone else? Make some videos. What are we going to do with those videos? Social media, advertising. What would be the name? Anyone have a clever name for this thing? Bison Buddies. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so we got Bison Buddies. You know, you're going to start to take some pictures. You're taking videos. We're going to invest in some social. Advertising would be the main channel for this, right? Because we don't have a physical store, so we'd probably need to spend a lot on advertising just to get some sales. This is a kid's toy or stuffed animal, so I would imagine it's a little more expensive to come up on search maybe. And so the whole goal of this would be, okay, we want to run advertising. We want to get this in front of as many eyeballs as possible. We want someone to click it, come to our website, and purchase this $20 stuffed animal bison. Now, that's how a consumer campaign would work. With B2B, it's extremely different. We're not actually trying to sell a $20 item in B2B marketing. In fact, it's completely different. No one's clicking an ad that they see from Salesforce, going to Salesforce's site, and putting in their credit card for 6 figures worth of software, right? That's just not happening. They're talking to sales, there's gonna be sales processes, there's gonna be research that's happening, they're gonna be talking with colleagues. So the outcomes are extremely different. And that's really what's wrong with B2B marketing, right? If you think about this model with B2B marketing, marketers are spending a lot on advertising. They're trying to get leads to come inbound to them. And once those leads do come inbound, then we try to nurture these leads until they get the sacred MQL status, right? And it's more of like a baton pass where the lead becomes an MQL. We now pass it over to sales. And it's a very disjointed process, right? So marketing is filling the top of the funnel with leads. The lead volume is typically low. What we'll find in a little bit is year after year, conversion rates are going down, so we're getting less leads. So sales cries out for more leads, Marketing then increases their advertising spend, and those leads don't convert, right? Forrester says that 99% of leads do not actually convert to customers. And this will obviously lead to missed goals for sales and marketing. It's a vicious cycle. Sales wants leads, marketing runs campaigns, leads come inbound, the quality of the leads are poor, sales wants more leads, marketing runs campaigns, and it just keeps going and going and going. And so why is this happening? It's happening because B2B marketers are using B2C tactics for B2B outcomes, right? I'll say that again. B2B marketers are using B2C tactics for B2B outcomes. And the traditional way of marketing right now is just not as effective for B2B, right? Folks are using B2C advertising technology like Google display advertising that casts a really wide net and is not as targeted. We're also focusing on lead-based marketing automation tools that really only focus on a small audience of people. And as we just talked about, the quality of those people probably are not the best either. And the other thing is we're not really able to actually recognize an account, right? Because B2B marketing is all about selling into accounts. We can't really recognize account with those traditional models, right? We have one MQL from one person, but we don't really know what everyone else is doing at the account. And this is a messy slide. It's messy on purpose, right? We think about the B2B buyer's journey today. It's not a linear process, right? Someone doesn't just have interest, fill out the form, and then buy. What's happening is the B2B buyer's journey is getting more complex, it's getting more anonymous. Gartner reported that 87% of the buyer's journey is done anonymously before they want to speak to sales. So before that actual demo request comes inbound, they've already went to your website anonymously, maybe they went to a competitor's site, maybe they talked to some of their colleagues, they did some research on third-party publications. They've done all this activity, and we're only understanding if they're interested if they actually fill out that form. On top of that, the buying groups are much larger, right? If we're trying to sell that bison stuffed animal, well, we can just keep nurturing that one lead and retargeting, send emails back to that lead. With B2B, a B2B transaction, there's about 6 to 12 individuals involved in a sales cycle. So if we only have one individual, there's no real better way to reach the entirety of the account, the influencers, and the decision makers. And we're seeing this industry-wide, right? We're seeing digital advertising spend increase year after year. I think at 2022, I can barely see this, but it's like $239 billion, right? So year after year, digital marketers are spending more on their advertising. And also, the conversion rates are actually decreasing, right? Like I said, less and less people want to fill out forms nowadays. Less people are clicking the ads and making it to your website and filling out that form. Right now, it's sitting at about 2.35%. So that means you have, from your total site traffic, only 2.3% of that traffic is converting to a lead. So you can imagine lead quality is probably low, and the volume of the leads are also low. And on top of that, we're continuing to spend more on advertising. We actually can't even see if it's paying off. There's no real way to determine if our spend is going towards the right accounts that be the best fit customers and will buy from us. There's no real way to see if we're getting impressions in front of the right accounts, the click-through rates in front of the right accounts, etc. So this is where account-based marketing comes in. Who here has heard of account-based marketing before? Awesome. For the rest of the group, it's fairly new? Okay, cool. So account-based marketing is a focused approach to B2B marketing in which marketing and sales work together to target best fit accounts. It's a very simple process. All right, I'll say that again. It's a focused approach to B2B marketing in which marketing and sales work together to target best fit accounts. This is the simplest analogy I can possibly think of. Anyone fish here? Okay, cool. What do you guys fish for? Salmon. I love salmon. I just had lox scramble at Burn Bonds yesterday too. Woo. Really good. Speaking of salmon. Anyway, so this is the best analogy I can think of for account-based marketing. The traditional way is fishing with a net. You're spreading a wide net. You're trying to pull up as many fish as possible. And as you can see within the net, there's maybe some fish that we didn't really want, but we picked them up anyway because they just happened to be in our net. Whereas account-based marketing is more so fishing with a spear. It's finding the fish that we actually want to catch, maybe it's a salmon, and going directly after them. So that's how you can think about account-based marketing. It's really the shared focus from both marketing and sales on two things, on accounts and on revenue. And if you think about the old model where it was more of that baton pass, we're getting leads, we're getting the leads to become an MQL, and then those MQLs get passed over to sales, hoping that they close those deals, and switching it over to more of a blended approach, so more of a team sport, where marketing and sales are focused on accounts through the entirety of the sales process, from the initial interest to the lead, to the first meeting, to a close, and continuing to grow those current customers. And when you think about the ingredients of a successful account-based marketing strategy, we think about 4 different things. We think about finding the right accounts. So we'll talk more about how we actually find those accounts and build out those lists of target accounts. But really, this is the core list of accounts that both marketing and sales are going to focus on. The other piece of it is the messaging or the content. And it's really about putting the right message in front of the right accounts. The other piece of it is the right time. So the right accounts, the right message at the right time. We'll talk about how there's a few different data points we can look at to determine like where accounts actually are in their buyer's journey, so that way we can target them at the right time. And then the last piece here is the right channels, right? So the most successful account-based marketing strategies are involving, of course, more than one channel. So think about currently what you're doing on display, email, sales outreach, maybe direct mail, events, VIP events, etc. Is this actually working? Like, what's the actual benefit of account-based marketing or switching to this kind of approach? 97% of marketers say it delivers a higher ROI than other marketing strategies. 91% of companies using ABM actually leads to increase in average deal size. And 86% of marketers say that ABM improves their win rates, right? So to recap, it provides a higher ROI, increases the average deal size, and improves win rates. So how exactly do we get started here? We talked about the whole process of like building out a list of accounts. That's going to be really important. So the way we think about it is first build out these lists of accounts, build out this foundation. Now within B2B marketing, a lot of marketers are leveraging a lot of great technologies. We mentioned, maybe they're doing things through display advertising. Maybe they're doing email marketing, so they have a marketing automation solution. Maybe they have campaigns living in their Salesforce. They're doing events, trade shows. They're doing all these different things, which is great. But these data points are living in various different places, right? So when we start to build out these lists of accounts, we want to make sure all the first-party data that all the marketers have access to is in one place. We're referencing all the different channels. And then the other piece of it is potentially leveraging third-party data as well. So that's how we would build out that initial list of accounts. We would really use the data points to build a list of accounts based on like an ICP, an ideal customer profile. The next thing we would do is better segment these accounts. So use the data that we're looking at and actually identify where accounts are in their buyer's journey. We can segment even further based on, maybe like segments, industries, things like that. And once we have these segments, we can actually use these segments to trigger campaigns. And the campaigns are going to determine, again, what type of content and what type of messaging, as well as the spend that we're doing towards these accounts. And then the other two pieces are working closely with sales to make sure that all the effort that marketing is doing, sales can actually follow up on those accounts and close these accounts, and also making sure that we have a positive ROI. We're measuring the success of these ABM campaigns. So how do we build these lists of target accounts? There's an acronym in the space, in the industry, I did not invent this, although I wish I did, called FIRE. And FIRE stands for fit, intent, relationship, and engagement. So when we're building out the list of accounts, the first thing that we want to do is find the accounts that are a good fit. Simply, these are the accounts that are in your ICP, your ideal customer profile. Now, these are the pretty basic things, the things that don't really change too often. It's going to be things like firmographics, right? So maybe the type of industries. Maybe you sell to other software companies. It could be accounts that are a certain size. Maybe you only sell to accounts that are above 500 employees. It could be accounts in a certain location. Maybe you only sell to accounts in North America. So now that we have our ICP, we want to be able to shrink that list down. So the next thing that we look for is intent. This is probably the only thing out of the whole presentation that would require a third-party data point. Intent really is this idea of identifying where accounts are in their journey, identifying which accounts are showing interest throughout the web. There's a lot of different intent providers, and essentially what the intent data will allow you guys to see is if accounts are researching your products, services, or competitors anonymously throughout the web. And we find at Demandbase, we find that's a very important part for both our marketing and sales efforts, because I mentioned a lot of the B2B buyer's journey is done anonymously. So if we can better understand where accounts are, what they're researching, if there's initial interest, we want to make sure we're being proactive about that. The R stands for relationship, and this will be any context or history between your company and the account that you're trying to sell into. This could be previous sales cycles, this could be old conversations, this could be former customers, this could be a cold call, this could be any interaction between your company and the account. And the last piece here is engagement. This is time spent with your company. This could be them reading content. This could be them spending time on your website. This could be meetings with salespeople. These are all the time that they're spending with your company. At Demandbase, we like to say, if they spend time with you, they're highly likely to spend money with you. So these are the different data points we would look for to help best build our list of target accounts. We'd also use these data points to help tier our target accounts, right? So if you think about if they just cross off one box, they're just accounts in our ICP, those just might be our tier 4 accounts, and it might not be the best time to actually spend advertising dollars or use our efforts on those particular accounts. But if they check off 2, 3, 4 of these boxes here, those would be our tier 2, our tier 1 accounts that need immediate attention. And the tiers are very important because the tiers are going to help us determine how much we're spending per account per month. The tier 1 accounts, of course, we want to spend a lot more because they're more valuable to us as a business. And our tier 1 accounts we want to spend more on. And our tier 4 accounts, we can kind of scale back on the overall spend. The journey stages will help us better determine what type of content and when we're reaching out to these accounts. If they just began their buyer's journey, it probably will be a lot more educational content to get them more sales ready or just to get our brand in front of them. But if they're ready to buy, well, it's going to be a lot different messaging. It's going to be different content we're showing them. One of the biggest mistakes I've seen B2B marketers make when starting to do ABM is 9 times out of 10, they get a list from sales. So sales will send them over a list of accounts that they care about. And salespeople, they will choose accounts that are a nice logo to have. It's a cool company. Not a lot of data that's backing those list of accounts that they're sending over to marketing. And so we call that kind of like hunch-based selling, where sales just, it's a good account. I like this account, when they have no real reason behind it. And so sales will send over those accounts to marketing, and marketing will put them in a campaign. Maybe they do some direct mail gifting programs, or maybe they're running LinkedIn advertising is very popular. And so they're targeting them on LinkedIn. The challenge is, though, these accounts are going to be in various different stages of their buyer's journey. Someone that's ready to buy, and you're sending them educational content, it's going to be wasted ad dollars. And vice versa, someone that's never even heard of you guys, and you're sending them form conversions, well, they're not going to convert. So the journey stages will help us better determine what type of campaigns and messaging and content we're putting in front of these accounts. And so now what do we do when we have these list of accounts, we have them tiered out, we're using data to determine where they're at in their buyer's journey and what kind of attention they're getting. I kind of have a simple example of how this would look. So we have our top funnel programs. These are the accounts to start that are just a good fit. They're qualified accounts. They're accounts in our ICP. They're not really showing any interest in us just yet, but they would be an account we'd want to sell to at some point. And so we might want to do some sort of always-on campaign, right? And we might want to do some more educational content, like thought leadership. We might want to invite them to some webinars about your company. It could be blog posts, infographics, etc. And since they're not the number 1 priority right now, we would scale back on the spending, right? We would recommend spending anywhere from $35 to $50 per account per month on these particular accounts. But once these accounts start to show interest, this is where they move into the next stage of the buyer's journey. This is that kind of mid-funnel. They are showing some interest, whether that be intent or maybe some site activity as well. And so the whole goal of the previous campaign was to get these accounts to your website for the very first time. Now the whole goal of these campaigns in the middle of the funnel is to get them to spend more time on site. We want them reading more content. We want them downloading more things, engaging and consuming with the things that we're talking about. And so we might want to put some more valuable content like white papers, how-to videos, demos in front of them. And we would recommend increasing our spend to about, let's say, $35 to $60 per account per month. And once we successfully get them to spend more time on site, this is where we want to make sure we're getting them to convert into an opportunity, and the opportunity is to convert into customers. So this is where, at this point, we're working extremely closely with sales to make sure that that's happening. We're showing some additional content, like maybe it's executive briefings, VIP events, etc. And we recommend, again, increasing the spend there, about $60 to $75 per account per month. And this doesn't end with just getting new customers or creating opportunities. It's the entire life cycle of this account. So making sure that we can increase upsell opportunities, cross-selling, and retaining these accounts. So the other aspect of this, of account-based marketing, I mentioned in the definition, it's a B2B marketing approach where marketing and sales works together to target best fit accounts. So working with sales is one of the most important aspects to determine the success of an ABM program. And Topo, which is a research firm that got acquired by Gartner, they said it's the #1 indicator of ABM success, is the coordination between marketing and sales. So it's very, very important. One can't work without the other. Cool. So how do we actually get that alignment with sales? The account list selection is going to be one of the most important aspects because that's going to determine who sales is reaching out to and what marketing is doing from a campaign standpoint towards specific accounts. We'll talk through the different entitlements, and the entitlements are basically what these accounts will be receiving based on their tiers. The other aspect is making sure we can share data with one another. So marketing will have data to share with sales. Sales will have data from the field that they're gathering. They want to share that with marketing to make sure that both efforts are mutually benefited. The other piece of this is by setting up weekly stand-ups or bi-weekly stand-ups with marketing and sales teams so you guys can discuss the specific accounts that both teams are going after. What's the status with them? You can share the data. You can share current campaigns that are going on that you want new accounts maybe to be brought into. And the last piece of it is aligning the specific metrics. So when we think about metrics, we don't just want to focus on MQL generation, marketing qualified leads. That's, if you remember, that old kind of approach. We both want to focus on like a shared pipeline goal or shared revenue goal that both marketing and sales are both working towards. We don't want to have like marketing influence pipeline or marketing influence revenue, because that's a very sticky situation. If marketing has an account in a campaign, but sales books the meeting and closes them, like who actually gets the credit, right? So it's best to just share those goals. So that way no one's kind of claiming credit for stuff. I'm not gonna go through this slide in depth, but I just wanted to show you an example of what these entitlements look like. And I could send this to you guys as follow-up as well. So these entitlements really, we talked about those tiered account programs. Well, the tiers are actually going to help determine what kind of entitlements these accounts get. The entitlements could be overall advertising spend. It could be budgets for gifting programs like direct mail. It could be workshops that we can provide to specific accounts or VIP events that these accounts can be invited to. And so what we do here at Demandbase is the marketing team will say, hey, we're hosting this type of event. It's only going to be for our tier 1 accounts. Each rep can invite 5 accounts each. So that's kind of the process here. We talked about the ABM stand-ups. That's where the 2 meetings will occur. But the ABM stand-ups are extremely important because the data shows that sales needs more data. Sales needs to be in the loop when marketing is running campaigns towards specific accounts. That way, both marketing and sales can both align their messaging and the content that when they're reaching out to these accounts. And there's a lot of studies. Some of these are from Salesforce. Obviously, they have a large sales team. They practice account-based marketing as well at Salesforce, specifically with their mid-market and enterprise and strategic organizations. And they adopt these ABM stand-ups, where they're sharing data between marketing and sales sales is providing data back to the marketing team. So we know what account-based marketing is, we know what it solves for, we know how to build a list of accounts, we know how to work with sales. The last piece of it is making sure we're measuring the right things. And before I get into this, I learned a very interesting fact about North Dakota last night at dinner. It is the state that consumes the most beer per capita. Which is funny because one of my slides was about beer, so I thought that'd be a good little intro. Matt Hines is someone in the space that's kind of like a thought leader in the space, and his whole quote is, "You can't buy a beer with an MQL." MQLs really don't matter, especially when you're thinking about an account-based approach where both of the organizations of sales and marketing are focused on revenue and pipeline, right? You can't buy a beer with an MQL. If we were doing that in North Dakota, you guys would get passed by South Dakota, maybe. I don't know who's in second. Is there like beef between North and South Dakota? No? You guys are too friendly in the Midwest? In New Jersey, there's beef between North Jersey and South Jersey. And we're in the same state. So anyway, when we think about those traditional B2C tactics, you can also think about some of the metrics that we look for as well. Click-through rates, marketing qualified leads, impressions. Those don't really equate to anything when you have an account-based view over your programs. So one of the key things that we'll think about when shifting towards an account-based program is the metrics. So instead of impressions, we might think about conversations, and that's stuff that we're monitoring. Instead of how many website visitors do we have each month, we might want to look at how many target accounts are we getting to our website this month. Instead of the lead funnel stages, we might want to focus on the percentage of accounts that are engaged with us. Are we getting them to increase engagement with us? Instead of open rates through email marketing programs, we want to look at open opportunities. So how many opportunities were generated from a certain list of target accounts? Instead of form fills and conversions, let's just look at the demo requests or contact us. Instead of that marketing qualified lead, we want to focus on marketing qualified accounts. So instead of nurturing a lead to get them to the certain level of engagement, we want to make sure we're getting these accounts to a certain level of engagement. Because as I mentioned earlier, majority of those individuals from the account are going to stay anonymous. They're not going to convert. They don't want salespeople reaching out to them. So we need to make sure we're still targeting the entirety of the account to get them to a marketing qualified account. And then the last example here is we think about lead conversion rate. We might want to think about how many opportunities are we converting to customers, or how many of those leads actually convert to customers. This is actually an example of, here at Demandbase, we originally were just telling folks what accounts are coming to your website. That's what Demandbase did a while back. Then we got into the advertising space, and we weren't really monitoring any of these kind of like MQAs or anything like that, what's currently going on in the industry. So there was a period of time, I would say probably 2 years ago, where we switched from reporting on traditional efforts and then now reporting on more of these account-based metrics. And so these are actual numbers, and this is just an example to show you all of how our organization was thinking about it. So instead of looking at the number of web visitors, we had 750,000 web visitors, we were looking at the percentage of engagement now from target accounts. That's a much more meaningful metric to look at. Are we actually increasing engagement from our target accounts? We also were looking at MQLs, and we mentioned earlier that's not really a judgment of an overall ABM strategy or B2B strategy. Instead, we started to look at contact us forms. SQLs, sales qualified leads. We then looked at meetings set by SDRs or BDRs or salespeople. And then the other thing we were looking for was ops created. And now we're looking for new opportunities created from target accounts. So when you think about a B2B sales cycle, right, they're quite long. They could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. So of course, in the long term, we talked about revenue, right? We talked about that earlier. We talked about pipeline. If a sales cycle lasts 6 to 12 months long, we might not see results on that for a long time. So how can we determine if our ABM programs are actually producing some success in the short term? So in the long term, we might look for things like average deal size, like we talked about earlier. We might look for things like close rates. We might look for things like funnel velocity, revenue, and our win rates. But we might not see that off the bat. So some of the short-term metrics we'll look for is target accounts. TAL is target account list, by the way. Target accounts on the site. How many target accounts are spending time on site right now? After we start to run our first few ABM programs, how is that number changing? Is it increasing? I hope it is, because that'll be a good judgment of success. What kind of engagement are these target accounts showing? We'll start to measure the total engagement from an account and see if it's increasing over time through our campaigns. We want to know if we're bringing new accounts to our site, because that'll be a very important metric for more of our top-of-the-funnel campaigns, our brand awareness campaigns. Lift is a metric that you guys all should get familiar with. Lift is really a better way to determine if accounts are spending more time with you. So this is a metric that's not just used by Demandbase, it's used across the industry in the ABM space. And you can think about lift of getting a benchmark metric of engagement from those accounts. And then after the campaigns, how has that engagement changed? If it's increased, that's the lift. So you might see after a campaign that we have 40% lift. That means engagement has increased by 40%, which is really good. And then other metrics around target accounts, like how many of those moved to pipeline, and what was the conversion rate for those, how many of those closed won, etc. So just to recap, account-based marketing is the B2B marketing approach that aligns both sales and marketing towards best fit accounts. And it'll lead to zero waste advertising. So zero waste from marketing, because we're not advertising to accounts that we don't want to do business with. Zero waste from a sales perspective. We don't want sales chasing accounts that are just not a good fit. It's going to help us produce much bigger wins because we're zeroing in on the accounts that are a really good fit and are showing some interest in us. So we really can tailor our messaging and spend more time on those accounts and get a larger ticket price out of that. It's going to help better improve our close rates because we're really only going after accounts that are showing some interest in us, right? We're not wasting our time with unqualified buyers. It's going to better help align marketing and sales because now they're sharing goals, they're sharing the same metrics, and they're sharing the same specific accounts that they're going after. It's going to help us better drive post-sale expansion, so retaining, expanding, cross-selling, and upselling current customers. And then last piece, it's just going to provide a better customer experience for your accounts. So think about all those accounts, even in the beginning of their sales process, they're going to have a better experience with sales because there's more data behind it. There's more of an alignment. They're getting kind of like a white glove service. So they're going to have a positive sales experience throughout the pre-sale process. And in the post-sale process, they also will have a positive experience because marketing is continuing to support those accounts, provide them with the right information at the right time, continuing their education, and making sure we renew and expand those customers. So I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, these are just some things to consider. Again, I can definitely send this deck as follow-up as well. But make sure you guys keep it simple. Like, don't feel like you have to boil the ocean. I shared some ideas of how to get started. We would recommend just starting with like one specific channel. LinkedIn is a very popular channel that folks will start with. So, we would recommend maybe aligning with just one salesperson to start. Identify a list of accounts that you want to try out some programs with. You guys can leverage things like LinkedIn and your email marketing programs to help better engage with these accounts. Get sales on board as well. Share some messaging so the sales and marketing messaging is aligned. It doesn't have to be perfect. You guys might mess up, right? Don't beat yourselves up too hard. And you also want to make sure you're creating an internal champion. So if you're working with one salesperson and that's working really well, you booked a meeting with, you helped that salesperson book a meeting, you want to make sure that salesperson tells the other salespeople. And then the other salespeople will say, hey, I saw you're meeting with marketing, once a week, twice a week. Like, what is that about? I want to meet with marketing once or twice a week. You guys are putting extra dollars to that salesperson's account. Like, I want that treatment as well. So that's how you can create like power users within within an account-based marketing strategy. So before I wrap up here, any questions? Any thoughts here? Okay. You guys got to help me out though. So would that be? Oh, question, yeah. So the question was, how old is this concept of account-based marketing? Account-based marketing has been around for a really long time, actually. I would definitely say close to over a decade. Sales has always been doing account-based. Think about if anyone has any sales experience here. Sales are always going after accounts. It's just marketing has been delayed because of the things we talked about earlier. They didn't have the right technology, they didn't have the right data backing it. And so it's gaining a lot more popularity over the past few years. More specifically, in 2021, there was a large increase in the number of companies investing into ABM technology. So year after year, it's getting a lot more popularized. It's even getting to the point where ABM is kind of more of a buzzword, and people are just saying it's an overall go-to-market strategy. So it's changing a lot, so it's a pretty good question. So yeah, I need you guys' help, though. You guys are cool to help me out? I'm seeing no. Listen, here's the deal. I'm 16 followers away from 10,000 on LinkedIn. I did the math, there's definitely over 16 people here. All right, so I'm gonna need you guys to scan this code here. Give me a follow. You guys can unfollow when you get back, if you choose to do so. But just give me the satisfaction of hitting 10K with you guys here. That would be a really cool experience. I'm at 9,984, and if we can get to 10K together, I think that'd be pretty awesome in Fargo, North Dakota. And I'm gonna tell everybody that Fargo is the reason I'm at 10K. I'll make a post about it, I promise. Oh, we're close. 10,000. All right, thank you guys. I wish I can see who that 10,000 person was, so I appreciate you. I just want to say thank you. Everyone has been super great that I've met here in Fargo, North Dakota. I haven't got a chance to meet everybody here just yet, but hopefully I'll be able to afterwards. I just want to appreciate Noah and Anders for the hospitality, for helping kind of bring me here and spreading the good word about Fargo. But yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Vin. New Hampshire is the second drunkest state after North Dakota. Look that up. I think the states with nobody living there tend to do better in those polls.